Hey guys, so I'm back to do another video and this time we're doing the disadvantages of the scientific method. Again, like I explained in the first video for the advantages, it's the same structure, so you're going to do point, example, well, point, explain, example, whichever way around you'd like to do it. And we're going to again do 3 points because that's usually the amount that you need because it's only 15 marks. You don't really want to waste too much time doing extra points that you don't necessarily need. So the first one is that the scientific method is reductionist. Now, we've covered this before, especially all the way through PY3, because we're talking about evaluation of things, and a lot of the time a lot of methods are reductionist because it's only focusing on one particular behaviour. So one disadvantage of the scientific method is that it reduces complex behaviours into isolated variables, and it means that only one aspect of behaviour is actually being measured. And by doing this, the researcher aims to control as many factors as possible to control the effects of extraneous variables, which is incredibly important when you're trying to establish cause and effect. So this is a problem because main characteristics of behaviour are considered as extraneous variables, even though they're actually part of the process that's being measured when we're studying human behaviour. And that the research also has to decide how to operationalise these variables that they're trying to control or they're trying to measure. And often human nature isn't actually that simple. One good example of this is that in the research of Langer and Rodin's study into well-being, an undesired characteristic that was considered undesirable on the measure of well-being was isolation, and that they found that, or that they presumed that if the elderly patient didn't leave their home or their room or didn't attend the film night, then that was because they were unhappy, and that was considered as reduced well-being. However, an unscientific method of using open questions in interviews actually found that this was when the participants were more happier because they had the most control. So Langer and Rodin's closed quantitative measure that was scientific actually missed this point. Another disadvantage of the scientific method is that it lacks external validity. So although that it's high in reliability, it lacks external validity, and that's because the research involves controlling variables in an artificial setting. This is a disadvantage because participants' behaviours that they actually show during the study may not paint a real-life picture of how we behave because of the artificial conditions. And because of that, you can't generalise beyond the particular setting that the research was carried out in. And a good example of this is that when you analyse Milgram's research into obedience, his findings bore very little resemblance to how we actually behave in real life. So for instance, Milgram found that the closer the person was, so the close proximity to the victim actually reduced obedience. But when you look at things like Nazi death camps, that wasn't there at all. So sometimes you really can't actually generalise behaviour that we actually do in real life, and that is quite a good example. A final disadvantage is that the method actually ignores individual differences. So science takes a nomothetic approach, which is looking at similarities between people, and it tries to establish general laws on behaviour and thought that can be applied to large populations of people, usually everyone. This is a disadvantage because the nomothetic approach leaves us only with a superficial understanding of any one person, and it loses the whole person, so to speak. And although predictions can be made from group results and generalised to the wider population, might not actually be reflective of that person or that individual in particular. And again, using Milgram's study of obedience from group results, we can establish general laws on how people actually respond to authority. But this would actually be inaccurate for those individuals who ignored the prompts by the experimenters and actually refused giving the shocks. Those are the three main points for your disadvantages. Now, there are plenty of others. There are things like that it lacks internal validity. There are quite a lot of other things that you can focus on. But again, I've picked out ones that are quite easy to understand and that have got good examples to go with them. Again, if you want any more examples or any more points, please comment below and I'm more than happy to give you an extra few tips. Again, I'm going to make another video and the next one's going to be the ethical issues in human research. And I hope you enjoyed this video and again, good luck guys.